right, guys, so again, I am using an effective feedback scripting to talk about the lesson and the action steps based on what you guys received. Firstly, I want to focus on the success. We've been setting a goal during PLC of focusing on standard alignment. And I noticed how you align your lesson objectives to the standard, and I want to stamp the success for that. What made that successful? Aligning the standard to the objectives. The standards to the objective.
I use the language directly from the standard to create the learning objective.
Okay.
And then also, kind of breaking it down in those no-show charts that help
Yeah.
to really kind of, get into the meat.
Okay. What do you feel will be the impact of aligning your lesson objective to the standard?
Hopefully a better understanding for the student and better preparation for the STAR.
All right, so very good. Today we're gonna dive into designing a strong exit ticket. Let me repeat that. Today we're gonna dive into designing a strong exit ticket aligned to the learning objective.
Okay.
Okay, so you might see learning objective noted as LO. Okay, for sure. So just kind of tell me, what are the success steps or criteria to developing a strong exit ticket, just from what you know from PLC?
Using the same or similar language to STAR.
And that's been my biggest takeaway through this process, is that it's been, my understanding is, from what I've, at our training last week and stuff like that, my understanding is they need to be like STAR ready questions. I mean, they need to be STAR questions. And so I think those STAR questions, going into lead forward and aligning those with our, standard for the day and stuff like that, is what am I correct in my saying that that's what they need to be, or
Yeah.
just STAR questions so that we're practicing that format, that language, that?
Yes. So I gave this out in PLC, but I wanted to give it again because I know anything could happen within a number of days. I want you to take a look at the criteria card, okay? And I want us to transition just a little bit, and I want us to talk about the gap, okay?
Okay.
So the gap between what's contained in the lesson plan, I want you to open up the lesson plan, and we're gonna go step by step based on that criteria card, okay?
Okay.
So let me know when you're there, just kind of give me a thumbs up or something. Okay, let's close, you're there too, Mr. Mobile?
Well,
All
I
right.
was. I've got so many things open.
It's okay.
This is the lesson plan for today, correct?
So,
That we're discussing.
Are we discussing today's lesson plan or next week?
the first, Friday's lesson plan.
Friday's lesson, oh, okay, let me pull that up. That's a different, I'm thinking we're doing, okay.
Okay.
All right, so the two standards that you guys are using for Friday is 8.9 A and D, right? All right, and then the objective for 8.9 A and D is students will be able to identify rhetorical devices such as figurative language and explain how its use supports the author's purpose.
Right.
So we're all on the same page, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's look at the criteria card. And then the exit ticket, is it the one that says, describe how the author's use of figurative language such as extended metaphor achieves specific purposes?
I'm not sure I've got them on here.
I'm looking at the.
Did you say 8.9D?
Mm-hmm,
And it says, the question is, read line 16 from the poem, don't go into the library, that
Mhm.
one? Yes,
Mhm. Is that the one?
yes.
Okay, so let's look at that and see, based on the criteria card, we're just gonna go line by line, okay?
Okay,
Send that to me.
we're just looking at the exit ticket.
Yeah.
So does that question, well, first we're gonna have to go back, because in looking at the lesson plan, tell me which text you're using.
This is not actually using a text. This is a reteach, and we're using a worksheet from the,
From
Uh,
Savas,
from
from the
S-
curriculum, because we see them Monday and we see them Friday, and we're starting a big story the next week with Uncle Marcos. And so this is a reteach, and it was from the curriculum.
yeah, it's from Fort Worth ISD curriculum.
Okay, so then tell me what's the gap. If that's the exit ticket, and that exit ticket goes with a text, right? Because I pulled it up and leap forward.
It does.
It goes with the poem, don't go into the
Oh,
library.
gotcha, I see what you're saying.
So
So
tell
we-
me what the gap is.
So
Just
the gap would be then, I was understanding, now I see what you're saying, is that I was understanding, it's aligned, it's 8.9D, I was gonna have them read that line and assess it, but the gap would be, they need the whole text, is that correct?
Okay,
You see?
okay, I
So they
do
need-
see.
So they need the text to go with that, is that what you're, okay,
There's another one.
another gap?
Mm-hmm.
8.9A,
Oh,
and we also need the text for that.
okay. So on these exit tickets,
So let me just make sure we're on the same page. So the gap is that students will need the entire text to go with the standard and assessing both standards, because that
Okay.
exit ticket is just for 8.9D, but you guys are teaching 8.9A and
and
D.
D.
Okay.
Alright, so based on that, we're on the same page with
Sure.
awareness.
Mhm.
Okay, so what do you think your action step should be to close the gap?
To print out the, text that goes with the question and hand that out. And since we're doing two, we're going to have to allot more time to give them time to read, which creates a problem. Because our students do not read very fast, so that compresses our
Yeah,
lesson.
to be a quick exit ticket, cause I've always thought as exit tickets, okay, wrap it up, last 5 minutes. So time-wise, what do we need to start looking at for exit tickets? Do we need to take a bigger chunk of our time in our pacing to do that, or?
So we'll go through that, but I want us to stay on target with the exit ticket. I want us to look at that criteria card
Sure.
based on that.
Okay.
And I want us to talk through, what our steps are. Is that fire drill?
No.
No, that's Mr. Daniels.
Oh,
That's-
okay,
that's
alright,
fine.
so, let's focus on, and keep this in our mind's eye,
Sure.
developing a strong exit ticket aligned to the learning
Right.
objectives. So, 8.9A and D, let's look at that, exit ticket that you have, the question for 8.9D, okay? And then, I would also venture to say, let's open up leapforward.com.
Got it open.
And then we're gonna go to the item analysis, IQ, you know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Okay, so it's leapforward.com, select resources, I believe, and then, the place where we go to generate the exit ticket
Yes.
questions. Alright, so, after we go there, let's go ahead and select our content, grade level.
Mhm.
And then instead of, student expectations, we're gonna go to TEACS cluster,
Ah,
okay? Let's
Okay.
select that.
Right.
And then we're gonna select poetry since you guys are focusing on figurative language. And then from there, select your TEKS.
8.9D. Select both of them and 8.9A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because then that should take you to the text, the poem. Don't go into the library. Did it take you there?
And I've been taking your advice because they reformatted that test, so I've just been picking like 21, 22, 23. I don't pick them all.
Last 3 years.
Mhm.
Right, so are we all here where it says, don't go into the library? Is that what populated for you first? If not, I'll just email you a copy of the link.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the first question. All right, 8.9A.
Okay.
So I want you guys to think about what you're doing that day. To reteach, I saw that you're doing two things. You're spiraling in the reteach,
Mhm.
and you're gonna do author's purpose, right?
Yes.
Okay, so based on that being the objective, let's see if this question matches the
It
criteria
does.
card. Does
Yes.
it check all the boxes?
Yes, it's aligned to the objective. Short and sweet. Gives a complete picture of what students understand. Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, so your action step today is to design a strong exit ticket aligned to the learning objective. Okay, so we know what the
Okay.
learning objective is. We know what the standards are, 8.9 A and D. Right? So tell me what your action step is. I had to have you restate it.
I
And then
would
write it down.
print the poem
Okay?
as well as question 13, passage 2B, and that answer, that is for 8.9A. Right?
Yep.
For 8.9D, the next question, which is actually question 15, fulfills the requirement of the criteria card.
Perfect. 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 All right, so let's plan before practice. So let's look at the lesson plan for Friday, and let's make sure that all the parts in the lesson plan are in place to ensure alignment. Okay?
Okay.
So we're just looking at the lesson plan. We know what the objective is. We know what the standards are. And so we're just gonna kind of go through. So the I do, teacher uses a slideshow to explain and demonstrate how the use of figurative language affects the author's purpose. And spiral in a review, the reteach of how to identify the different types of figurative language.
Mhm.
Right, for the we do, students are gonna work with a shoulder partner on a sample text. Tell me how, based on what we said, the upgrades need to be, based on your action step, which text do you feel like fits more in line to reinforcing those goals for our objective? So I know you guys said you have a text from the curriculum.
They're excerpts, it's reteach, and so they're excerpts from, like the kids, like, we do one today, like where they're reading. Is this, like this would be the text,
Mm-hmm.
and then, so this is like character traits that we're reviewing today, so, no.
So this doesn't align with 8.9 A and D because we're just focusing on figurative.
Yeah,
This
which
is
is-
just an example.
I'm just saying, I'm
this
just
is
showing
what
you
you're
the
using,
text,
like
the
something that
text
looks like this.
It would look like that, it would be from there, and then there would be questions over that.
So that's
It wouldn't be a
for
whole text, because we were just trying to do a one day.
the we do. So that would be the we do.
Oh, yeah, well, like, today we started off together, like they did a I do, and then together we went over this, and we did a we do together, and then, they did a you do. And completed it on out.
Okay, so tell me what sample text, what's the text you're using for,
Let me get
Friday?
into the, here it is,
You got
here it is.
And should it be, so should we change that? Should it be a real text? Okay, so that's, okay, well we can change that.
Even if it's a text, if it's a poem, since
Mhm.
we're gonna
Do
have them do
poem.
poetry, and since you guys are gonna use that 8.9 A and D from
Okay.
Lead Forward as your exit ticket, I would maybe make it a short poem that you can model what you expect them to do. So that way they already have that authentic working experience doing that. I would find a short poem.
Mhm.
So then that way you know, because they've exemplified
Okay,
that they know how to do that,
okay,
okay?
so we can change that. We can go into lead forward then and find a text and lead
Or
forward.
you can find one from Savas.
Okay,
And then since you're already using a text, I keep saying text, a
Here it is.
poem from Lead Forward, you can use Savas, you know, just to kind of vary it a bit.
okay,
This is the worksheet that we're doing. And this is directly from the curriculum.
from Savas.
No, from the curriculum. It's not out of SLOS.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Okay, so examples of figurative language, personification, simile, metaphor.
Right.
But then the application, this is very low level, guys.
Okay.
Just to go over those vocabulary words, yes, I see that. You're gonna talk to them about what personification is, simile, and
Yes.
metaphor, those rhetorical devices, I get
Yes.
that. But then how does this then align to what they're gonna be expected to do on STAR? You see?
This is what the curriculum gave us.
Okay,
This
So-
is directly from the curriculum.
okay. So here's the upgrade.
Let's look at the second page of it, and maybe that's where the upgrade is.
Okay, like, is there a poem from the curriculum? Because they do need the vocabulary.
There is a passage.
Okay.
There are two passages.
They're small passages, and then
Because I think what it's trying to do is show that it's not just poetry that uses figurative language.
Right, right. Okay. So that's gonna be the we do. What about the warm-up, the activation of learning? What do you guys have for that?
We hadn't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
that's what we were supposed to be, we were gonna finish it up today, and
So have you introduced, thank you, have you introduced those terms, personification, metaphor, and simile? Do they know what they are?
Yes, and we're
Okay.
gonna go back over them because our kids did not get them well,
Okay, yeah, figurative language is tough.
Yeah. especially with
Second language learners
EB
or?
students.
Yes.
They're very literal.
Yes. So how are they charting this? That's another question. How are they charting their learning? When you introduce a new concept to them or they're taking notes, how are they doing that? What's the mode or method that they're using?
well, that's not something that I've incorporated at this time, but I do think they need to be taking notes. It's something I tried to get them to do at the beginning of the year, and all of them bring a composition book and us have a reading journal. I think that's really, really important, and I couldn't get kids to
Yeah.
bring the composition books. But it's something that we can definitely instill, because when I used to, teach it, they did their warm-ups in there, they took their notes in there, we reflected on things and stuff like that. So, we could put together something where they could start.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna help them stamp the knowledge and the learning.
Mhm.
So we need to start with the activation of learning.
Okay,
with that vocabulary that you guys are lifting, personification, metaphor, simile.
So are you saying, would
Okay.
that be, would you suggest that that's our warm-up every day, is to do vocabulary?
Well, it might vary, it's gonna depend on what you're doing.
Right,
So I
true.
can't say, make that the practice every day. Every day they do need an activation of learning, yes.
Yes, yes.
They should come in every day, the first 5 minutes, and it should be some kind of systematic routine of what they're doing. So for the purposes of this lesson, cause I know we're gonna run out of time, let's say, students, you know, you put your objective, you have your standards listed, and, for the activation of learning, I think that you should use, what you showed me on there, either the first or the second one. Let them do that, let them wrestle with that, let them struggle with that.
Okay.
okay,
Give them 5 minutes only. Print
To
that.
start off with,
Mhm.
and then let them struggle with that, the activation of learning, and then we can go to the we do part.
Yep, I wish I had a copy of that so I can see it, so that we can talk about exactly how to phrase
it's
it.
in the, if
Let me
you,
see, if I go to
it's in the
Savas.
curriculum,
No,
it's in the curriculum.
For
Okay.
those to do unit
And
5.
there's intervention, it's under assessments.
Okay, I'm gonna go there right now.
And by the way, next week's lesson plan is going to be late, I'm not done.
That's what we were gonna sum it all up today.
Okay,
But now I'm glad we did this, cause now it'll
we kind of have a framework. of
have
how
a
to
better
do things.
framework.
Yeah.
And
Okay, let me see. Unit 5, and you said it's under assessments?
Yes,
Okay.
intervention / reteach instructional materials.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Goals I got there. Okay. So, let's see. Remember, we're focusing on figurative language and author's purpose.
Mhm.
So we need to make sure, with keeping with alignment, that we have something that fulfills both of those standards, A and D.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. Read each sentence below, then on the line, tell whether each contains an example and these other rhetorical devices. Okay, so 1 through 7, they should be able to complete that in 5 minutes. So I would start there,
Okay,
okay? I would do it just like, what they have on this. I would give them all of this information.
sure.
I mean, you guys would probably print out the whole sheet and just give it to them.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. All right, so spend about 5 minutes doing that, and then that's your activation of learning. Then after your activation of learning, I would go into the objective, the learning objective for the day.
Mhm.
This is how you know that you would have been successful today based on,
Right,
okay? Let's see here, then after that is the I do. I'm going in between 2 screens. Use a slideshow to demonstrate. So tell me about the slideshow.
the slideshow is one that was created, back when we first started with,
Figurative language?
figurative language, and I'm going to edit it. Let me go back and find it. My drive. All those copies are created for you. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, here's, that may be, yep, there it is. It's actually extended metaphor spiral, that's not what I thought it was.
Okay. Okay, so just to save time, let's try to just synthesize what
Sure.
we have to do, all right? So, look at the lesson plan for Friday.
Mhm.
Ensure all parts of the lesson cycle are in place, primarily to ensure alignment, okay?
Mhm.
So that's the first action step. Look at the lesson plan for Friday, ensure all the lesson aspects are in place, okay?
Mhm.
We need to change the lesson activity based on the exit ticket, okay?
Okay.
So that's the I do, right? You,
Right, based on the exit ticket, so change the, right. okay,
from
we can
leap
do that.
forward, okay? Let's see here.
Okay, change the I do.
We're changing the we do, because in your we
Okay.
do, where it says that sample text,
Yes.
we wanna give them something that's more meaty.
Okay,
Rather than
Okay.
that worksheet, we wanna give them something that's realistic, that aligns to what they're gonna have to do on STAR.
so that's where we can go back to the point.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. All right, and then finally, we addressed that both standards need to be assessed. And, something that we're gonna chew on and focus on is charting students, the note taking, and then, also, how are we charting their progress on the TEKS? Okay. So I know this is a reteach, that's why I'm saying that. We wanna know after Friday, where do we need to go with figurative language? Where do we need to go with author's purpose? Do we need to do a quick review? Do we need to take a deep dive? Have they mastered it and we're moving on to something else that they need to learn?
Well, we're doing this in preparation for starting Uncle Marcos next week,
Okay,
which has figurative language.
perfect,
Okay,
Perfect.
so it will be further reinforced
okay,
as we go through this, and the text is
Don't worry.
magical realism or
Yeah,
something.
actual realism.
okay, okay.
So,
For the purposes of Friday's lesson, I'll review the lesson plan. I have to review it today by 7th period. We'll have a little time. And then I'm gonna revisit the class as you guys teach it Friday
okay,
to see how it's executed and the parts that we still need to develop or where we
Sure.
are as a grade
Okay.
level, okay? All right, so are we good with our action steps and everything that we need to do?
yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the video.